completion of this fourth unit. This is a glance. This is chapter 2 in unit 4, that is cloud disaster recovery. So this, Anisha,
Sir,
so the slide is okay.
yes, sir.
Voice is okay from my side.
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you. This slide you are seeing now.
Cloud disaster recovery.
Right, thank you. Right, so this disaster recovery plan, we are following the cloud application architecture textbook, and this is the first topic already covered, disaster recovery planning. The second topic, disaster in the cloud, this also be completed. Disaster management, this also be completed. Now we are in the last two topics, that is the fourth topic is capacity planning, and the fifth topic is cloud scale. Now let me start today the cloud capacity. Now this capacity planning for the cloud will be derived as like this. Capacity planning, how we have to plan whenever the capacity means whenever the disaster has to came into picture, how we are going to overcome that, what are the precautions we have to take care, whether whatever the things, resources we have should be a properly planned or not. So we have see such a way that what are the expected demands, whenever the demand will be there, how it will be, what are the expected demands we have to be analyzed, determine the expected demand. We have to be make some calculations whenever any fortunate and unfortunate demands will came into picture, how we can be determine that, and how we are going to analyze these unexpectations. Now what is the impact on the load? So these are the four sub things we are going to discussing under this. Now let me have start what actually the capacity planning means. Capacity planning is nothing but is a strategy. This had to give, it gives the guarantees that whatever the infrastructure you have, your infrastructure can support the resources demands placed on it. Whatever the resources you are having, whenever the demand came into picture, it has to support that strategy, is called as capacity planning. Just simply, it is a method or a strategy. It gives a guarantee that whatever the infrastructure you have, whenever the resource demands will be came into picture, it will be satisfied. The demand may be like through the, we can have focus on the throughput or on time delivery or resource utilization, or it can be a WIP lead times, or any firefightings, or any production cost will came into picture. So these are the some of the demands will be came into picture, and this demands whenever is required, it should be give guarantee such a way that whenever on time delivery is required or in time whenever resource utilization is required, this your plan should be properly planned. The capacity has to be tolerate that demand. Now come to the first subheading under this is expected demand. So how we can be make that expected demand means we had well quantified expectations will be enabled. Under which point is we had to be enable our plan out. What's the an infrastructure to support expected loads. Whenever load comes, more demands comes, we have to plan out that it has to be enabled. And second enable is we have to recognize when actual load is diverging in a meaningful way from expected load. Means whenever we are going to have the actual load, it should be properly mapped to the expected load. So it should be there. Whenever unexpected load will be there, it should be diverse automatically. It has to be move, divert automatically. It has to move from the expected load to the unexpected load, or unexpected load to the expected load. So we have to recognize that as well. The third is understand the impact of changing application requirements on your infrastructure. Meaning of this is we had to be see such a way that under which applications, which application it takes more, whether application server or web application server, or where actually we had to make some impact on the changing of the application requirements on your infrastructure. Under that layers, which layer is taking more infrastructure, we had to analyze that application requirements. We had to understand that impact. So these are the three mainly we have to enable in the expected demand. One is plan out, second one is recognize, third one is the understand. Now see as example. Now consider an example, a scenario which consisting of you have an infrastructure which supports 10 million transactions per second. This is your infrastructure supports. So you have to be make sure that the growth from your average load of 1 millisecond, 1 milli transactions per second to 5 milli transactions per second. That is a growth. Growing is nothing but initially it is a 1 milli transaction. As the time goes on, it will be moves on. The number of transactions per second is going to be increasing to 5 millisecond, milli transactions per second. Now, if you have properly estimated the load, you can recognize automatically you can recognize whether the sudden surgery, whether it's going to be expected or unexpected, that potential capacity problem can be tolerated because already you have in infrastructure 10 million transactions per second. If the growth is growing on from 1 to 5, it doesn't matter. So this is maybe expected one or maybe unexpected one, whatever it may be, should be properly estimated the load and you have to be recognized. So these 3 steps, you have a plan, you are recognized it, you are understanding the impact of that applications, whether properly going on or not. So this is how you can be enable this expected demand. So that is what the first subheading, expected demand. The second one, determine your expected demand. How we can be determined is we are considering, say for example, a e-commerce site. Already you are aware the concept of e-commerce. When you want to do this e-commerce, online shopping or online transaction, anything through the internet, this e-commerce site, see x-axis shows the number of days, 0 to 23, y-axis shows the traffic. If see the day to day, the traffic is going on, moving, increasing, and suddenly some down again in some day 22 or 23, it will be again the traffic is more. Again, it suddenly reduced to the rest of the days. So we had to predict for every day to day, what is the traffic, what is the load it is predicting on that e-commerce website. So we had to support on whichever the weekend or maybe the holidays or maybe the festival days or whatever it may be, it had to be tolerate the traffic. So as the days will be varies, the traffic also going to be increasing with this showing of the graph. So this graph shows you we are determining the expected demand by considering an example on e-commerce, that total days versus traffic. It is projecting this graph, days versus the traffic. Y-axis is the traffic, x-axis is the number of days. As a continuation, if you see this for the same e-commerce site, if you are predicting that expected load, what is the load projected with respect to the volume? Volume of this one that is, we are considering 12 months, totally for a year, 12 months, for in a different months. So it is a previously graph shows the number of days. Now come to the number of months. In each month, how it will vary, this graph shows you. And overall year, for a 12 month, see how the volume of peak volume is going on from starting of this month in the last ending of this, because end of the years more number of volumes are there, because it's a some products will be expired, some products will be the exchange offers will be more, some products they are going to be not to be stored like Ashada Masham, some other schemes are there which will have a more volumes of volume of the things will be goes in the e-commerce end of the year. End of the year means at the 12th month, right? So that's why as the time goes on, most of the festivals will be appearing in the September, October, November, December. Most of the top festival will be maximum in this duration. So that's why the peak volumes will be more in respect of this one, instead of having this initially it is a going on increasing because the only the year, right? So that's a graph. This two graphs shows you how we are going to be determining the expected demand. That is the second subheading. And the third one is analyzing the unexpected. Analyzing the unexpected is, these are the three examples I'm showing here. The tick marks. Sometimes the company launches a new product. That product exceeds the expectations. Maybe you launch for initially you have 1,000 products into the market, because of the it will be have more popularity for that product. It is unexpected situation. Second one, sometimes you receive unplanned media coverage. Unplanned media coverage is unexpectedly you are unplanned the media coverage where your products or for your the whatever the manufacturing things you are having, that will be unplanned the media coverage. The third one, simply you are going to be in a wrong direction. So these are the unexpected things we are going to be make sure we have to predict this. We have to analyze on this unexpected things. Anytime the significant unexpected traffic hits your web systems, it is important to understand why traffic is varying from the unexpected. So that we have to be considered into this. So the fourth one is the impact on load. The impact of load is assuming, say for example, perfectly you are considering a efficient web application. It is a typical web application deployed into the cloud. So when you are deploying this into the cloud, the potential capacity constraints we need to consider is the first one. Here already, if you have remember the total structure of the cloud, it's a load balancer will be there, application servers will be there, network will be there, all together database will also be there. So we have to consider this some of the capacity constraint. The first constraint is the bandwidth into the load balancer. The bandwidth we had to consider, the CPU and RAM of the load balancer, the ability of the load balancer to properly spread load across the application servers. This two will be the bandwidth of the load balancer. This is the CPU and RAM for the load balancer. Same thing we had to be considered for the application server, the bandwidth as well as CPU and RAM. So we had to take care of how much the disk it is going to be through the IO. This is for reading operations. How much of write? This is for disk operations. Write IO, disk IO going to be using for read operations on the application server. Write IO going to be using for disk operations on the same application server as well as in the secondary disk. Now the bandwidth between the application server or any other network, between the application server and any other network storages devices such as Amazon EC2, between this how much the bandwidth we had to provide, and bandwidth between the application server as well as the database server, that bandwidth also we had to consider. Next, disk IO for reading operations and read databases. This is for you are going to be for reading for application server, the 6th point, and the 10th point is for database server. Same 7th point is for application server. Disk IO write for operations is for here in the write database. So the amount of space on the disk is to support the data storage needs as well, right? So these are the minimum capacity constraints with respect to the bandwidth, with respect to the CPU, with respect to the RAM, with respect to the disk IO, write IO on load balancer as well as application server as well as the database server. Okay, so this is what we are covered in the capacity plan. We have seen just now the capacity planning, what actually it means that, and how we are going to be expected at the demand, which has to be enabled. We have seen one small scenario example. We have seen determining how the expected demands, the taking of example of e-commerce site, right? And we have analyzed and the unexpected. These are the 3 different examples or scenarios. Next, how the impact of load, what we had to do when we are deploying our web application into the cloud. What are the minimum capacity constraints we had to consider for application server, load balancer, the database server, as well as for the network. Right? This is what we have just now seen